History beckons for the two clubs battling it out in the second leg of the CAF Confederations Cup final as reigning champions TP Mazembe face inaugural finalists SuperSport United. Now the DRC Giants are aiming to retain the cup for the first time, while the Pretoria-based club has never won a continental title. Sias du Plessis has more from the South African capital.
After a riveting campaign, the CAF Confederation Cup has reached its business end. The second leg of the final that sees the defending champions TP Mazembe 2-1 up on aggregate against a SuperSport United side that have exceeded their own expectations. And the visitors are expecting a stern test from their hosts.
For me, I think it's going to be a difficult game, but we're going to make effort to play well, and after that to try to have a good result for that game.
The DRC Giants are favourites going into the final, and SuperSport United coach Eric Tinkler admits the 2-1 defeat in the first leg could come back to haunt his team on Saturday.
We need the one goal, but also from past experience of ourselves, we're not a very good team defending a 1-0 lead. So, we want to go out and play offensive football like we did when we went there. Show no fear. We need to take risk in order to get ourselves back into the tie.
TP Mazembe skipper Rainford Kalaba hopes to make up for the disappointment of crashing out of the Champions League by winning the Confederation Cup title.
It was painful for the whole family of Mazembe, the chairman himself, and us players. It was very painful. And we went into Confederation again, and we gave ourselves a go to reach the final. And we thank God today we are in the final.
TP Mazembe have been far from formidable on the road during the competition, and this could favour their opposition. But the Ravens do have more experience in Continental Cup finals and know that should they manage to see off their hosts, will become the first team to successfully defend the Confederation Cup title and will reaffirm their status as a true powerhouse of African football. Sias du Plessis, CGTN, Pretoria.
Well, let's now get you more on that final. General Manager of Kingfoot.com, Marwan Saeed, joins us once again live from Cairo. Marwan, great to have you back again. Kickoff is in a few minutes' time. Who do you see lifting the title after 90 minutes?
I think it's a big chance for both teams to make a statement. Like we said, the TP Mazembe have a historical chance to defend their title and be the first team to do it. SuperSport have their first final on their hand in their history, so it's balanced, and both teams know what's on stake. But if we look at some records, or for example facts, actually it's much more complicated if we look at TP Mazembe, because they've won only 6 out of 22 previous CAF Confederation Cup matches away from home, so which makes it kind of tricky. And on the other hand, if we look at SuperSport, they have an experienced coach who has been in the final in 2015. He knows how to come back, having won the MTN 8 Cup last month against Cape City after being 1-0 down. So it's the SuperSport also returned to their home and play on natural grass. They play between their fans. They know that a 1-0 win will send them, will give them the title. So they know what's on stake. They have the abilities, they have the players, and I think they can do it tonight when they face Mazembe.
And Marwan, obviously we touched on this last week ahead of the first leg. The Confederations Cup obviously is the second-tier African club football competition, but do you think that fans across Africa attach any importance to the tournament?
I think fans in general, their presence in every single tournament in Africa, not just the Confederation Cup, has an effect. If we look at Egypt, for example, the fans, they have an effect. If we look at South Africa, the fans have an effect. If we look at Lubumbashi, the fans have an effect. So the football for me without the fans is nothing, and you know that they give an extra push, they give extra motives to the players, obviously to push on and motivate them to give all their best, because at the end of the day the players play for themselves and to make the fans happy. So it's an equation that goes and needs both sides to work together on this, and I think the fans have a very, very big effect in the game itself, whether it's club competition, whether it's national teams, and thankfully in Africa we have a lot of passionate fans that support the game, and this effect can be seen as some teams that go away from home, they can feel the effect of the fans of the opposition teams, and at the same time the home fans feel the support, and it makes them carry out their best effort. So without the fans, football is not, or will never be the game we once fell in love with.
Indeed, and now as we see the club seasons, both national and continental, wind down, from what you've seen, Marwan, how would you describe the state of club football in Africa, and would you say it's improving?
Obviously, I'd have to say it's much different now, because there's no single team that's making making the final and going to the final every single year. In my opinion, it's better to have a lot of varieties in styles of play, in the teams challenging and such. For example, last season when Mamelodi Sundowns, they weren't even in the competition, but they went to the final. So it makes a statement here that every team, no matter how strong they are, or how with less experience, such as SuperSport, getting this far in the competition, it makes a big statement that everyone's going to give their best shot each and every match, and that's what African football needs. If every team puts aside barriers, such as if they think that experience matters, and if they fear big names and the opposition clubs, or the name of the club itself, then we'll see a much better environment and style of football. A lot of varieties, players and clubs coming from different countries. We've seen a club like Al Ahly, for example, they made their first final in several years, and this is something we're not used to. So obviously the variety in style of play, the variety in where the clubs come from, it gives a much better picture to African football, that it's not dominated by 4 or 5 clubs each and every year.
Marwan, you did mention there Al Ahly. Is it something like we saw last year, a lot of Egyptian clubs rise up in the Confederations Cup as well? Is it something that we can expect in the 2018 season as well?
I think the 2018 season will be a bit special, because Zamalek are going to start the competition in the Confederation Cup. Obviously, it will give them a very big push, trying to win this competition, having lost the CAF Champions League last season, the season before this one. They've had a lot of things over the past 2 days with the elections, and that Murtada Mansour is elected for another, re-elected for another 4 years. So obviously he would want to make a statement on his first year from the 4 years. So I think that the presence of Zamalek at this point is very big, because they are a very big household name. And they will want to avoid the scenarios that happened last season, whether in the league, whether in the African competitions, and it's time now for them to make a statement. They've changed a lot of players, a lot of younger players coming into the team, lesser known players coming into the team. So obviously a lot of people want to make a statement, the new members of the re-elected board, the old members that were re-elected again, the new players, the old players. So obviously the presence of Zamalek will be huge this season.
All right, Marwan, thank you very much for your insights. We will, of course, be keeping an eye on that final. Marwan Saeed, General Manager of kingfoot.com, speaking to us live there from Cairo. Of course, TP Mazembe carrying a 2-1 advantage into that match in Pretoria that kicks off in just under 5 minutes' time.